welcome to Drive Time. My name is Dylan Stafford. I'm an assistant dean here at UCLA Anderson, and my pleasure today is to interview Anika Sharin, class of 2020, getting ready to graduate here in just a month or two. And I'm so grateful to get to be with Anika today. I've been wanting to conduct this interview for not quite a year, for about 9 months. We were talking at the dean's house at the FEMBA Council end of year celebration last year. We had this wonderful conversation, and Anika commutes from the Bay Area, so you're going to get to hear about the craziness of living in the Bay Area, but going to graduate school in Westwood here at UCLA. And I really love her story. She's a very educated person, as I will tell you more in a moment, with a lot of options in her life. And she put UCLA in her choice group. She had many schools to choose from. She chose to come to us, and she's been a very active student leader. And I just think you're going to really enjoy hearing how Anika has juggled all of this work-life, family, and changed careers, and just has many, many great outcomes. So a couple of data points. As I said, well-educated, undergraduate at Bangladesh University with a bachelor's in engineering, a master's in engineering in electrical engineering from Santa Clara, a Stanford certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship. And in a few short months, she will be one of the newest members of the UCLA Anderson Alumni Network, with her MBA focusing on technology and product management. She was also a Dean's Fellow. So, all right. Yeah. And then what she does for a living, and you'll hear how she got to this job. She is working in a health tech startup in Menlo Park called Sight Sciences, Inc., which is actually founded by a UCLA alum. And she's a senior product operations manager. So definitely has made a pivot during school to a whole new realm of work. So with all of that, hello, Anika.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and everyone is on the screen or on their car driving. Thanks a lot. And this has been such a nice day to be again on campus.
And normally we're recording on a Friday afternoon, so normally you would not be here. So you tomorrow is a hybrid weekend. So what brought you down to LA a day early besides this?
Definitely you're on the top. That's why I came. But actually there are two conferences happening today. One is Evolve conference, which is by the Retail Business Association or the club, and it's focused on the retail, and it's not actually the way we consider retail. It's more about what is the future of the retail. So that was I attended in the morning. And there is another conference. It's also by the Healthcare Business Association Club, and that's the Vitals conference. That's also happened every year, which is a very interesting conference for me because I work in health tech and I care about the healthcare industry. So that's why I am also here. So I'm juggling between these two conferences, and in between, I'm here to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, I waited 9 months for this or April or May of last year. Yeah, maybe 10 months. So you have a typical Californian accent, I hear.
Really?
Yeah. So maybe you didn't grow up in California. Where did you grow up?
So I'm born and raised in Dhaka, Bangladesh, which is the capital of Bangladesh, which is totally not like California at all, which is a very busy city. I always grew up in urban high-rise buildings. So living in California, which has been way different than my usual life. And I went to undergrad in Bangladesh, and I went to Bangladesh University of Engineering and Tech. And if you actually check the big tech companies in the US, like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, you will find lots of alum from that school because it ranked #1 for engineering in my country.
Congratulations to get in there.
Thanks a lot.
It sounds like getting into UCLA undergrad for...
I think so. That's why. And I did that. And when I was in my undergrad, my family is actually engineer. My dad is from the same school. My sister was in that school.
Oh,
so
really?
It was in my around that I need to go for grad school. And when I was finishing up my undergrad, my sister was doing her PhD in US in University of Maryland, College Park, in cybersecurity. And she motivated me, if you pick grad school, definitely pick US.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so she suggested. Okay.
She suggested that because that time I was considering Europe for my grad school.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I was always fascinated about the European arts and culture. So I was learning French that time.
Nice.
And I was thinking maybe I'll pick a country where I can travel and learn about the culture. And then my sister motivated me to apply for US because she said, if you want to learn about culture, it's the melting pot. Come learn the culture. And if you want to be in tech, definitely US would be the great one. And that time, me and my fiance, we both are applying for grad school.
Okay.
So we picked few schools here in West Coast, Stanford, Santa Clara, and also in East Coast, MIT, Boston. So that's how we picked the school. And Santa Clara was in my mind because of they're in the Silicon Valley. Like
Right.
they are focusing on entrepreneurship, and I enjoy working with teams. So when I was going through the school website, I saw that they're very much focused on this type of project, like energy innovation project. And that made me like interested to apply for the school. So that's the interesting thing. I actually did not come to Santa Clara University first. I got a full ride in a school in Oregon, Portland State
in Portland.
University.
Okay, I saw that on your
So I
profile.
first moved there for my grad school, and somehow the weather did not suit me. That rain.
You didn't like all the rain.
No. And especially coming from a sunny tropical country, it was hard for me. And then I was like, okay, like I checked Santa Clara University before. Why don't I apply there this time again? Because like when I applied first time, I did not get full ride.
Okay.
But and then I got full ride in multiple schools, and I picked the school which gave me the best possible combination of financial aid and also the
Sure.
program. And
See, you didn't have your MBA yet, but you're thinking like an MBA already.
and because like to me, like also like the culture I was brought in, like I always had scholarship throughout my undergrad. Like I never had to pay tuition for my undergrad because I was always getting merit scholarship or dean's scholarship. So that was kind of like in my mind that for my grad school, I also want to get full ride. Then I again reached out to Santa Clara, I applied, then I got scholarship. So I transferred to sunny California and definitely all the Silicon Valley tech bubble, or I would say like where you actually get to explore your ideas.
And your fiance was
And
in grad school also?
Yeah, he went to Stanford. So by that time he became my husband.
Ah, okay. Oh, but you had to be Portland and Palo Alto for
Palo
a
Alto.
year.
I would say like a little bit less than a year.
Okay.
Because it's one academic year, which is like
Okay.
9 months. So yeah, he was in Stanford for doing his PhD. So I moved to Silicon Valley. We used to live on Stanford campus.
Oh, nice.
And as I became more interested doing like group project, not just being by myself, the good thing about being on Stanford, you can take any classes, even though you're not a student, rather you're a spouse. So I took that advantage. Like
Nice.
The days I did not have class, I would actually go to Stanford grad school, GSP, and take some classes with them. Like it's kind of like auditing the class. I'm
Sure.
not doing the homework, but you're learning. You actually get to see like what the business school is teaching them. And I kind of like fell in love with the whole idea, like how we can make a bridge between the tech and business. And not, because as an engineering student and having a network who are all engineers, you actually don't get to see how you can change lives by using the tech. Like we're doing innovation, but not in layman terms, right? When you're in the business, you have to put your shoes in the layman term who doesn't understand tech at all. So how you can make it available. So taking auditing those classes, being at GSB, like that motivated me. But I also did not want to quit my job or like quit my school and just go to business. And so I decided, no, let me finish my master's and let me see where my expertise is. Then I'll decide on business school. So I finished my master's and I actually started my full-time job during my master's. I didn't even wait until graduation.
Oh, you were busy.
Yeah. So I was doing full-time school and full-time job like from the last 2 quarters of my business school, like Santa Clara University. And there I focused more on like quality management because I felt like that's the team who work with everyone in the company.
Okay.
Like everyone is stakeholder. So I more enjoyed that. No, I enjoy working in a team and I enjoy being in the business side. I want to learn more. And then I switched to and I also wanted to like go for a smaller company, be in a startup, and also like you're in Silicon Valley, you want to get that Silicon Valley vibe.
Yeah, you gotta try. You put your foot in the water.
So I switched my job, and that was exactly like, do you know the TV series Silicon Valley?
Oh yes.
Yes. So my life at that company was exactly like kind of like the TV series.
Yeah, that's part of why that's such an acclaimed show is the reality component.
It's very cliche because like the roads where they used to shoot in Palo Alto. I used to live in that area.
I lived on Ramona for 2 years when I lived in.
Yeah,
I worked
right?
in Santa Clara. Yes, and I recognize.
All those things. I was like, I joined a startup, and then I started working with international teams. So I launched a product. I moved the manufacturing to the China. So I moved the jobs from US to China.
Oh no!
But actually, like we figured out, we just moved the manufacturing, but we hired more people in sales here, so that was an interesting experience for me.
Yeah, and it's subtle like that. It's not always instant black and white.
No, it's not like that.
It's who can do what best in a very complex global supply chain reality.
Exactly. And it's actually like when we get to hear like the jobs are moving,
Mhm.
it's actually not, because you might have been using the site to build the product, but who are managing those teams? The management team is here.
Mhm.
So you are actually managing with US employees, some Chinese employees. So it's not like exactly moving. It's more like you're shifting the workforce to do the things you're doing better.
Mhm.
I feel like especially in US, we are really good at solving problems rather than following. So I think that's what we did. We did the problem solver hiring more in the US and the solution followers in China, or Asia. So that's what I felt we did. That was a very interesting experience. And then I decided I want to start my business school.
Okay, so and it was about 4 years from the end of Santa Clara until
Yeah.
the beginning of, because you would have begun UCLA 2017.
Yeah, I started in 2017 fall. So I worked 4 years after my grad school, and then I decided I want to start applying. So then I picked like what I want to do. I want to be a full-time student, go back to school,
Mhm.
or I want to learn and use it every day.
Okay.
And then I figured, no, I want to learn and I want to use it every day rather than just wait 2 years and then go back to workforce.
And you would have, at Stanford's GSB, you would have been watching daytime MBA students. So
Yes.
you kind of saw what it's like, being a full-time grad student.
Full-time
So-
grad student.
And you had done it yourself in electrical.
Of course. Because like I was going there, like, for example, I did not have class 2 days a week. I would have, during my master's, I had class 3 days a week.
Mhm.
So other 2 days I'll go and sit with the GSB students.
Okay. So you'd seen that world, and then
Yeah.
you're asking yourself, which one do I want? Keep
Do I
my
want-
job
yeah, keep my job.
or be a full-time
And also
student?
like when I was applying for my MBA and my husband was doing his PhD, he was a grad student. So
Mhm.
I definitely want to say, when you make any decisions, like at work, you consider who are your stakeholders, right? And how you can make your case in front of them. So when I decided about my MBA, I tried to figure out who are the stakeholders. My husband, my parents back home.
Mhm.
So those are my stakeholders, and also my job, because I was working full time. So how I can present my case so it's actually doable.
Mhm.
Because if I go for a good school, which is out of Bay Area, and I become a full-time student, that means long distance relationship. So he's one stakeholder. And also I have parents who are not here. They live in Bangladesh, so I also have to visit them. So I need to have the financial solvency so that I can go and visit them.
Plane tickets cost
Right?
money from California to
To
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. So all those things, and also like my family is kind of like international because I have siblings. She lives in France. I also go to Europe every year.
Oh, so you do get to use a little of your French.
Not much. I kind of like forgot my French.
Okay.
Other than like very simple things. So all those, I kind of like considered them as my stakeholders so that I can present my case that I want to go back to school, but how?
Okay.
And then I picked 2 schools, UC Berkeley and UCLA,
Mhm.
because of definitely their track record.
Mhm.
Because I wanted to be in healthcare, because when I was applying, I was in a health tech company and I really care about healthcare. Like, I'm not a voter, but like in the US, but I follow all the healthcare bills. I want to know where healthcare is going, how people are getting affected,
Mhm.
or which disease we need to tackle in next 5 years or next 10 years. So that's why I check like the schools who has program or alumni or like the classes in health tech or healthcare. Then I started like searching like the employees, for example, in top health tech company like J&J, Genentech, Amgen, who is like a neighbor
Yes, down the
company
street.
from UCLA, Edward Life Sciences, J&J, like who are their employees? What is their background?
Mhm.
And definitely UCLA stood up that, okay, there are so many employees in Amgen who went to UCLA for their MBA. Or if you consider consulting, like GS associates who are like focused on healthcare consulting, where did they go for their MBA? UCLA. So that's how I picked my schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then I applied. And before application, I went to many admission events. I talked to the admission office, and I even called multiple times here, like joined the webinars about how to write your resume, what they want.
Mhm.
So that definitely like helpful. So it's kind
Excellent.
of like even before you become a student, you're trying to make a relationship, if it's a fit in for you or not. And then I got to interview in both schools. I applied. So before the interview, I also reached out to alumni. And those alumni, like, yeah, I didn't know them in my prior life, but definitely the alumni from UCLA, they stood up as one community.
Mhm.
When I reached out to them, they were like giving me advices like, do this, do that. Or they would like even tell me like, do you want to catch up again for 20 minutes and do a mock interview with me?
Oh my
And
goodness.
which was like, I would say the peak for me. Like,
Mhm.
okay, like they don't know me. They graduated from this school 10 years ago and they're offering me 20 more minutes so
Mhm.
that I can come back and do a mock interview. Like, I still remember those alumni and their names. Like, I'm still in contact with them because when I got
That's
in,
so
I kind
great.
of like reached out to them and said, you helped me and I got into this program. And they have been like, I would say like a cheerleader for me on the background. So those are the things like I really felt that made me connected. So during I would say when I came here for SuperSaturday,
Mhm.
that was a fun experience. Like the SuperSaturday is like a game day, right? Everyone is here.
I've never heard it called a game day, but that's very optimistic.
No, in your mind, you're coming. That's the thing. Like I feel like when I'm flying down here,
Mhm.
like for that SuperSaturday, like in my mind, I felt like it's a day to compete
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
all other candidates. But when I did the interview, I actually did not feel that at all.
Oh.
Because the person who is interviewing you was alumni
Mhm.
or maybe a current student. So you actually get to talk heart to heart, what they're feeling. And that's why like, even though when I came flying down, I felt like it's a game day.
Mhm.
I have to compete. But when I was here, I did not feel that at all. That was also another like high peak moment for me. Like, no, that's cool. Like we are not here to do a fight. We are rather here to build a community. So that's, I really felt connected. So at that moment I was like, no, like I want to be here. and
I love that. This is the part I waited 9 months to record, because when we talked about this at Dean Fresh's home, obviously I admit, the Bay Area is full of intelligent, hardworking people. They apply down here, we admit them. And I know if they're admitted to Berkeley also, oftentimes they're going to choose to go to Berkeley physically because it's closer.
Yeah, it's definitely close.
And your stature in my mind just went up whenever you reminded me, no, I was admitted there also, but I chose to come down here, and you really chose, like, call it culture or fit or nice people, and I think that idea of share success is one of our pillars. I love that about UCLA, that people are, I don't know, Los Angeles is crazy because it looks easy, the palm trees and Disneyland, but to live in California in the big cities, it's fast paced, it's expensive. And yet there's something about California that I find very endearing, that smart people who are also open and curious and
very helpful.
Yeah. So I loved that. So, and I love Berkeley, Marjorie, the whole team up there. Great, great Rahul. I love you all. Marjorie, of course, is a graduate of Anderson. I have to throw that in. So she's running the show at Berkeley. So you chose UCLA. And when we were talking earlier, I loved how you kind of articulated, because a lot of people listening to this will be alumni and friends, but some people will be new admits or considering. And it's a 2.5 to 3 year academic journey while you have a full-time life and a full-time career. And talk about the way you feel the 3 years go. Sort of what was year one like, and year two, and now in the in the finish line year.
Yes, I can see the finish line finally. So definitely, like after you get that admission, that's like a high moment, right? You're like doing like, I'm gonna do this, and you will see so much opportunity for you here. There's so many clubs who are here to help you. They're like a career center. They're here to help you, train you. But after you join, like especially like me, like with a full-time job, and if you have family or commitment, then you cannot do it all.
Can't do it all. Cannot.
Yeah. So that's might be like, you feel like I'll join all the 20 clubs. No, you cannot. Don't do that. Like, I also did join 10 clubs first year, but then I figured out, no, like these two are my focus.
Okay. You joined many and then
I joined
came
10 first year.
You literally joined 10.
Yeah, I
Not a
literally
figure of
joined
speech. She
10.
joined
No,
10. She
I joined
10.
10.
Anika is amazing. So I just want you to know.
No.
She's amazing.
I would say like, no, like you're gonna be disappointed at yourself if you actually join 10. Like,
Well, there's just not enough hours in the week.
no, and also I used to travel a lot for work, and my travels are always in Asia. So
Big trip. Yeah.
whenever I'm traveling, like I'm jet lagged after coming back, so I have to catch up with homework. So
Mhm.
you don't always have time to join all the club events. And
So you brought 10 down to 2, you said.
yes,
Okay.
I'm still in that too.
What were the 2 you chose?
So I'm still like doing all the operation, the SOMA club.
SOMA? Okay.
Yeah, and also the healthcare.
What does it stand for? Strategy Operations
Strategy Operations Management.
Management Association? Yeah. Okay. SOMA. We have many acronyms like all business schools.
Yeah, another one is HBA, Healthcare Business. So these two, like, I really follow.
Mm-hmm.
And
they fit your world. They
fit my world, and they also fit kind of like SOMA is kind of like thing. It's not industry specific.
Okay.
Because the other clubs are very industry specific. Like retail is one industry, tech is one industry, but operations is everywhere. You can be working in the mayor's office. Next day you can work in your own startup. You never know. That's how operation is. And I do operation management. So, and I care about health tech and healthcare industry. So these two match with my interest and bigger goal. So I'm still stuck or like still follow them. But yeah, it's really hard if you create, what is your expectation from yourself? Like, I think we all come with definitely highest expectation. Everyone is very smart in the class. You will feel like every class you'll go like the discussion, because it's a case-based program, right? You discuss about your case study. You'll feel like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, like you will have those awe moment every day, almost in every class.
Really?
Yeah, because especially like, I would say that when you start the electives from the second year, you'll enjoy your classes more. Because first year, it's a cohort and it's like the basic class like finance, economics.
Yeah, it's all the foundations of
all
business.
The foundations
this
of
is
business.
the part of the MBA that everyone forever assumes you know.
No. So
and it's important. You got to build those foundation blocks.
So it's very important. So like those are the things you're very busy day to day, like on those classes. But when you start your electives, those are based on your interest. So you're kind of like picking, okay, like I'm highly interested in finance. So you kept taking finance classes. So you are more in tune in the class, I would say. You have more interest. And every case is kind of like different. Everyone is bringing different perspective. And the best thing is like when you start your second year, it doesn't matter which program you are, like FEMBA, EMBA, or full-time. We all are taking classes together.
Yeah, that idea that you can co-enroll into the electives across programs is a wonderful element of the share success attitude here. Yeah.
And if you have like work flexibility, because some of my friends who decided on second year, like, no, I want to quit my job and finish my MBA. They actually did classes with full-time students during daytime on weekday.
And you were all day Saturday in year one.
Yeah, year one.
So you could have done hybrid, which is every 3 weeks, one weekend, but you chose to come down
every week.
Did you fly Friday night or Saturday morning or?
Depends.
Depends?
Yeah, depends. Sometimes Friday night if I wanted to meet my friends for dinner, or sometimes Saturday early morning, the first flight. Because from Bay Area, like, yeah,
it's just
many flights.
Yeah.
So some people used to drive, but I preferred to like fly because I like my sleep.
In the grapevine, you never know what's going to happen.
So like that's what like I did. Like, and sometimes I would go back Saturday night, sometimes Friday morning, depending on if there is an
Sunday morning.
Sorry, Sunday morning.
Yeah, okay.
Because like there are many events. Like when you join the school, you'll see like casino night, FEMBA end of the year party. We also do like a Vegas trip. I did that first year. So whole FEMBA class will go.
Did you take your husband? Did he get to go?
Yeah, he went.
Has he made some FEMBA friends along the way?
Not much, because like that's the only event he could join.
Oh, okay. It's hard if it's just one.
Because like he was like finishing up his PhD that time, so he couldn't get much time like to join all those trips. And so
you said year one is sort of figuring out the MBA, 10 clubs down to 2, choosing your schedule. You chose the all day Saturday schedule, and then year 2 you said it was more how to use the MBA, and then you pulled a pivot during year 2. Of course.
So that's the thing, like in year 2, you get to know like what is your interest, because that's where you're going to start taking electives. Because as an MBA student, like definitely when you start for the next role, you want to see yourself, You just don't want to get a job. You want a job where you can thrive and you can prosper. So that has to be something similar to your interest. So I would say like in second year, I started feeling like, no, I enjoy operations and I want to be in operations role. Like I just don't want to be an engineering role. Rather, I want to be a bridge role between the engineering team and the business, sales, or marketing team. So that's where I feel like operation is a role where suited me, because I am responsible for delivering the product to the marketing and sales. And I'm also responsible to understand what the product should be from the R&D team. So operation sits in between both. So, and then
somebody has to build it. Someone has to bring it to the market. Someone has to talk to those two worlds.
Yes. And I do that. That's my day to day, like from morning to evening. Like even yesterday, I was making training videos for the doctors with the marketing team.
Really?
Yeah. And whenever there is issue, sometimes I go visit the doctors just to listen to them. Like, because the doctors also want to talk about the technical part of the product when they see issues. So I go to the doctor side, and we have many doctors in LA who are using our product. So I get to hear from them. And yesterday I was all day with R&D to discuss what should be the next version of the product. So I really enjoy being the middle person in between all the teams, talking to the stakeholders. I enjoy doing that. And I kind of like did that pivot during my second year of the program.
And that's, you did take hybrid classes some then, which gave you a little more flexibility.
Because you definitely need time to prepare for interviews. So in first year, when I'm flying down every Saturday, definitely it was hard. Like if you want to focus on finding a new job, but when I started doing the electives, I got more time to practice. And the good thing, the career center here, like Jackie, Pam, they work on weekends. So if you want to practice interview 2 or 3 days prior to your interview schedule, definitely they're here to help. Like I would say, like the way I mentioned earlier, like it's not like they're gonna write the answers for you. What should be this question? What should be your response? But they will give you honest feedback. They will do like a mock interview, and it's also helpful to hear yourself out. That are you convincing?
Wow, I said that out loud.
Yeah. How does actually it sounds like, or how is your story? Like, is it a good storyline? Or is it a strong story for that answer? Like, especially, I feel like that really helps. And also, like, what another thing I felt in Anderson, like, I did mock interview with my friends, my classmates, because they all have work experience. You have FEMBA, EMBA full-time students, all in same class. And some of the EMBA students, they have 25 years of job experience. They are the one hiring managers. So doing a mock interview with them, like you actually get to hear the feedback from other side of the table. That helped me.
That's what a hiring director would sound like.
Exactly.
Or, a C-suite, whomever. Now, Sight Sciences, your current employer, founded by a UCLA alum, that's Anderson alum. Did they find you? Did you find them? How did that happen?
So the way it worked out, they found me first, and they reached out to me to interview. And that time I was actually not exactly looking for a job, because
this is what I tell FEMBAs. This is the thing. If you have an MBA and then they come looking,
that's true.
Tell me more.
So that's how it happened. And then I started talking to the hiring manager, and then the hiring manager mentioned about like, our CEO wants to talk to you.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. The CEO even wants to interview. So and that made me interested. Which
doesn't happen as much with an Amgen or an Edwards.
No, you don't get to see that like in big companies. The CEO also want to talk to you, because then I went there and the CEO mentioned like, oh, like you're going to Anderson. I also went to Anderson. This is the class of mine. And he just kept talking about his Anderson experience. So I was supposed to have like a half an hour interview with the CEO. It became 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
It started at 10. And then
oh my God.
Around 12:30 I had
our podcast will not go 2.5 hours. That's amazing. What do you talk about for 2.5 hours? You must have just bonded on science, on healthcare.
No, I would say like everything.
On everything.
We bonded on Anderson. He was talking about like our current dean, Osborne. Like he was like how he liked his classes or all the programs, because he was in a fellowship to be like in venture capital side, because Anderson has a fellowship. So you can apply for that fellowship, and he was on that track. So he was telling me how that fellowship shaped his life, because he was a pre-med student. He was all in biology and science. Then he came to Anderson, got a fellowship to be in venture capital. And after that, he had his own venture capital. He got success through his venture capital. And during one conference, he came up with this idea of the product, like, because the doctors were like discussing and they were mentioning like one surgical product they use, which has some issues. And he talked with his brother, who is also ophthalmologist. They came up with the idea and started working on this. And now this company we have like 150 employees with 25 million annual revenue, even though we are a startup.
Wow. Yeah, 150 employees as a startup is, that's a real startup. It's a startup that has started
revenue.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you have positive revenue. Yeah.
Definitely. We are prepping to go IPO. And I feel like, especially working with him, all the 4 Anderson, like the building your community, share success, those are actually practicing in the company. The way like we keep mentioning share success in Anderson, he is actually doing that from top down in the company. Like when you work in a startup, you don't expect to get like annual bonus, right? But in a startup, we are still in venture money. We get annual bonus on our performance because he wants to share that. The revenue, like it's not a public company. He doesn't need to share. But every week he mentioned, this week, this is our revenue. This week, this is what we made. This week, this is what we sold. So I felt like all those concepts kind of like he practiced. Or like in school, like it's not like every day we are practicing, but it's back of our mind. The people who came to this school, they want to share success. So I can see that in the company.
Well, and for people listening who may, every school has a tagline or a motto, but the process that we went through was it took like 18 months. It was faculty, students, alumni, the business community. And we went through like a legitimate deep marketing focus group situation to ask, okay, every school has a culture. What's the culture of Anderson? And the 3 pillars of, for me, it's think fearlessly, share success, drive change, head, heart, gut. Okay. That you're going to think more crisply and concisely. You can deal with the complexity of a modern business situation. You're going to have this network and you're going to have the confidence. I can think better. I can share success. I can drive change. It was more than just a tagline. It was actually like all the different focus groups could agree that, that is what they knew to be congruent with the atmosphere, the space of this place. And to me, that has a whole other level of depth than something that sounds good. And I find that to be true. There's so many smart people walking around the halls. 25% of FEMBAs have a master's degree already.
PhDs.
So, and married and, like between your father and your husband and you, I mean, you guys could start your own company. Your sister, my God, right? Like that's an intelligent family with lots of options around the world, could have gone to Europe, came to America. So you have all these people, but it's not a very arrogant environment.
Not at all.
Commensurate with the accomplishment academically that walks the halls. And then there is this kind of California vibe. And then there's this gut check about, that's all nice. You're smart and you're a nice person, but you do have to hustle to make it in California. It is expensive. There's traffic or airplane rides or, and so.
That's part of life.
It's part of life. But you have to have that attitude that I'm not going to let that be the conversation because my eye is on an entire industry. Yeah. I don't even vote in this country currently, but I'm interested in what this country is wrestling with as it tries to figure this out.
Because I'm part of the community.
Yeah. And you're helping make this place work.
Of course.
Yeah. I love all that. Okay. So one wow result was sort of doing a pivot mid-career. We were talking also, just recently you came back from one of our global immersions.
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
Of course. Like this has been like one of the most amazing experience for me in Anderson in the last 2 years, going to the global immersion.
Where did you go?
Nickelberg. I went to Singapore and Thailand. So it's very interesting. Like I grew up in Bangladesh. I did my undergrad, but I did not have career in Bangladesh because right after, when I was doing my undergrad, I was in senior year, I applied for grad school in US already. I had my scholarship and everything. So like I was already like prepping for that. So I did not get much time to build a career in Bangladesh. So for last couple of years, like I have been working with few startups in Bangladesh as a mentor. And I am seeing like so much things are happening, especially like in Asia, Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and the way the tech industry is booming because the population is very young. And I was like, okay, like for my immersion, I want to go for Asia. So there are multiple options for Asia. One is China, Hong Kong. Another one is Singapore, Thailand. And I was like, no, I go to China and Hong Kong for work almost every month. And I work with that community. So I kind of like get the vibe. But Singapore and Thailand seems like a backyard. And the way it's changing, especially think about like Brexit happened recently. And so many companies moved their headquarters to Singapore because of the location. So I wanted to learn more about Singapore. And Professor Nikolsberg took us there. And we were there like a week. So 2 days in Singapore, we got to actually not only meet the alums in Singapore, we got to hear from the government employees from Singapore, like the ministers were there to tell us like what is the next plan for Singapore? What is the 10 years from now Singapore want to do? We got to hear about like from the government groups like who are working on like taking Singapore or preparing Singapore for the next wave of technology change. So all those are amazing. Like I had no idea about that. And I was amazed, like, okay, like there's so much opportunity like to work there. And then we went to Thailand. That was another 3 days trip. Yeah, definitely it's a beautiful country, amazing food, and alumni were there to talk to us. But even without all those, like the opportunities they have, like all the big tech companies, they are actually starting their office also in Thailand nowadays. And the talent pool, because whenever we try to hire or like outsource, we don't actually think about Southeast Asia yet. But they're also building a talent pool. And the community, like they're going towards fintech. So all those were like very new for me. So I got to absorb a lot, learn a lot. And especially like when you're like a student here, like you don't always, especially here, like we have many amazing speakers we get in schools, and we're always learning about like US industry, right? But you don't always get to hear about Southeast Asia when you're living here. So all those I get to hear in Singapore and Thailand. So it was amazing. And I also got to spend one more extra week in Thailand.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Because if you go all the way over there, so, I think everyone should get to the end of FEMBA with no leftover vacation days. Use them all.
No, I'm negative.
Go negative. Go negative.
That's the thing. Like I'm negative. Like you need that. Like definitely it's hard. Because sometimes you have like a hard final, you need a day to study. So you need to take that PTO. And for example, like you want to attend a conference in school. So I had to take the day off today. Yeah. So like, yeah, that's the thing. Like you have to consider who are the stakeholders from the beginning of your program. Like when I went to Italy I also did like an immersion outside school in Italy for 2 weeks. So I had to take 2 weeks time off then, but I got to work with the Italian company for that short time. So which was an interesting experience. So
that was your Italia Innovation Scholar experience. Yes.
Yeah. So that was very interesting to me because that was a program focused on sustainability in business. So there are like people who have been working in like Patagonia, and there are like some professors from Harvard, UC Berkeley. They were also teaching sustainability. And then we got to work with the Italian company for a project on sustainability.
And that was through the social impact group here.
No, that was came through the social impact group because
or they brought it to your awareness.
Yeah, they brought it to like the students because all those clubs, they not only arrange events in school, but they will let you know what are the other events outside school you can attend. So that's how I got to know about the program, and then I applied, and then I stayed 2 weeks in Verona for the program. So yeah, definitely like all those things.
And you did that while you were keeping your full-time job, while you were taking classes. Okay.
So that's why like you would have your PTO.
Used up all your days. And you had a second consulting experience here with Cornerstone OnDemand.
Exactly. So that was through the Net Impact Consulting Challenge. So there is a Net Impact Club, and they're focused on like impactful job and also like in nonprofit. So if someone has interest in nonprofit world, so this club is like the Net Impact Club is like a huge thing. And not every business school actually has that. Like when I talk to like other MBA students from top schools, few top schools, they say like, no, we don't have Net Impact Club. So they're struggling to know like where can they go if they want to go for nonprofit. But UCLA has Net Impact Club, and it's very, I would say, well supported throughout the school, because you can get consulting projects in LA with a nonprofit, work with them for 6 months, and you can also get course credit, which you can use it for your MBA. So the school is very supportive if you want to do this outside consulting. So those opportunities like was amazing, because I have been working as volunteer for multiple nonprofits back in the Bay Area, but not as an employee. So I wanted to know how it is the nonprofit environment. Does it suit me as an employee, or should I be a volunteer? So this consulting challenge actually helped me to figure out, no, I want to be volunteer.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I love that career advice. Finding out what you want to do is also finding out what you do not want to do.
Exactly. Because I always thought, no, I enjoy volunteering for them. That maybe I want to be one of them. Then I figured out, no, like, especially, I am happy. Like I have been working in a startup. So being in an environment which is not very structured, it's fine with me. But yeah, I feel like I enjoy being in tech, and the more I work, like I feel like, no, I enjoy healthcare.
I love it. Well, we talked about year 1 was figuring out Anderson. Year 2 was how to apply Anderson. Year 3 and looking ahead is the game plan and what's next. So as you start to, 1 class left after this quarter, right?
Yes.
So the finish line is definitely in sight. And as Anika looks 5 and 10 years forward, what do you want to build next? Where do you want to go after your MBA?
Sure. As MBA is almost like 3 months from now. So as I have been doing operations, definitely for my next, 5 or 10, I would say 10 years from now, I want to see myself having my own company.
Nice.
And maybe in healthcare sector, and most probably in Asia, because after this immersion, I kept feeling an urge to go back to Asia. And actually,
you've been here since 2011?
Yeah, I moved to US in 2011.
Yeah, so that's a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, and also actually after I came back from immersion, that urge of going back to Asia made me I became involved in a healthcare startup back in Bangladesh.
Oh, okay.
So I have been working with them as a volunteer to help them making business plan and everything, because I'm here and not in Bangladesh. But that's the thing, like all those small things, like that immersion brought back that urge. I want to be in that side of the world, and again made me let me figure out if I have time to help a company there.
Yeah, well, you're a global citizen. I mean, you're already a global citizen. You've established your bona fides experientially, academically. You've built networks on 2 continents at least.
And also Anderson gives you the network worldwide. It's not like just California. Your classmates are from everywhere. They're moving after graduation everywhere. So you can, wherever you go, which country you go, you maybe find at least one Anderson alum, right? So all those things, like 10 years from now, I actually want to be in healthcare. And 5 years from now, I want to see myself in a strategy role, most probably acquisition or merger in healthcare. So that's what I'm right now, preparing myself.
And how's your confidence interval? Do you feel ready to
I think so.
Live that next decade? Do you have what you need?
I think school definitely prepped me.
Good.
And one thing I know, even though I'm graduating in a couple of months, it's not like I'm gone, because I'm already being involved in the school. There are organization to plan for the next part of Anderson. I'm already working with GAP. The GAP is a master's thesis, what they can improve for the upcoming students for next year. So it's the moment you become alumni, it doesn't mean your relationship ends. It's you just get a new dimension of your relationship with
Are you
school.
going to be a GAP fellow, or
I haven't decided that
or maybe
yet.
consulting to GAP?
Yeah, because
general?
I don't live here.
Okay.
So being a GAP fellow means more physical involvement.
Yeah.
So at least for next 1 year, I want to do less flying.
A little less flying. Well, and you can consult to them. And
So that's my plan. Like, that's what I told them. Like, if I can do anything virtually, like not being in school that much, I am happy to do that. And also there are like alumni committees who are like for the bigger Anderson. So I'm also getting involved with them. And the FEMBAssador is still there. Like, I'm still talking to potential students whenever.
Yeah, that's right. The last two things was we haven't talked about FEMBAssadors. In addition to everything else you've done, you've been an active leader and volunteer in our FEMBAssador world, which is our student ambassador corps for, of FEMBA, by FEMBA, to FEMBA, for FEMBA. To tell some people, because you've had a couple of leadership roles, diversity and inclusion, and then this year's leadership. Tell people a little bit about, if you're going to be in FEMBA, you might want to be a FEMBAssador. What's that been like for you? And FEMBA Council also, either one. Yeah,
FEMBA Council or FEMBAssador, like, I feel like they are the one, like, who will be your voice, right? So if you want to be voice of your class, definitely FEMBAssador or being in the FEMBA Council, that will be your path. And that's like a safe place if you want to like practice leadership, depending on which part of your career you are in. Maybe you're like right now not in leadership role and you want a safe place to practice the leadership opportunities, leadership principles, and also like the 3 pillars of Anderson. I think these 2 places will be your place. And definitely there are many other clubs who are like career specific, but these 2 clubs are mostly, like FEMBAssador is focused on the next class. You're helping the schools to bring who will be in the next class. And it's kind of like you're helping the school to make your network. You're picking the people who should be in your network. And
that's a great way to say it. You're picking the people who will be in your network, or should be in your network.
Yeah, because like when you think about like the alumni, you didn't pick them. They are picking you to be in the network.
Oh, I love that.
And when you're like
I like that. I've never thought of it that way. Yeah, because the alumni are already there. So they're picking you. Them. But now you get to pick the generation that comes behind.
Exactly. So when you become FEMBAssador, like you get that option who should be your friend or who you want to be part of, like Anderson.
When you all run the chats and you send us the notes, Raymond, we put them all in the CRM. And as we go through the journey, they came to the chat in Irvine or Palo Alto or San Francisco.
And students remember, like I kind of like feel like I remember, like whenever I went to any chat, any dinner, any phone call, I remember like what those current student or alumni told me.
Yeah, I don't know who the alumni are who helped Anika choose us over Berkeley, but I'll send you a coffee cup or something. I don't know, because I loved that part of your journey. Because I have full respect for Berkeley. I have respect for the entire UC system. We're a beacon on the hill.
All the schools are very good.
Yes, and we have Stanford. The West Coast has a wonderful. We educate people in the Cal State system, in the UC system, and this is the most populated state in this country. And what we do with the youth, like you said, Thailand and Southeast Asia are full of young people. Mexico is full of young people. We've eradicated much disease. People live better, they live longer, and now we have how do we create societies that can have places for people to participate in healing and education and manufacturing and thinking and arts. It's a big challenge the world is in front of. But I loved Dean Oley, and she would always say, like, Los Angeles is a top 5, top 10 city in the world. We have all the opportunity and we have all the challenge all at the same time. So if you want to be on the cutting edge, this is the type of place you want to be.
Of course. And that's the good part of UCLA. Like, I feel like when I was looking for schools, definitely everyone highlights this is the area, right? This has all the opportunities. But as an MBA, like, you also want to work on the challenges. So maybe we are highlighting, LA has the Silicon Beach, but we should also highlight, LA has one challenge, that homelessness and traffic.
Yeah.
How after your school you can help that. So I feel like that's where UCLA is. Like, definitely all the highs are here, but we have to serve the community. So if you want to serve your community, UCLA is the place, and you can go fix the challenges. Like, the highs are always gonna be for you. You're coming from a good school, you are smart. I feel like that's same for every candidate, for all the UC schools. But if you have to fix the challenges of the community, come here.
Well, my new offering post-admit for people is the leadership lab idea. We had 4 last year and they were just FEMBA. This year we're going to have 3 opportunities, 1 in April, 1 in May, 1 in June. And they're 2-hour workshops, either in person or Zoom. And I'm partnering with Dr. Kushnama Cooper from MSW, the Masters in Social Welfare. And her career, she's an advocate for homelessness. She's an advocate for LGBTQ youth in foster care, many of whom disproportionately end up homeless. That the foster families don't know what to do. They have a worldview that doesn't match. And she is an active advocate going to Sacramento multiple times a year on behalf of this reality that between 40 and 80,000 people are sleeping on the streets in this county every night. And it's so big that I think a lot of people don't even know how to get their head around it. And what I love about the richness of UCLA overall, I mean, here we are, the best management practice, typically in a for-profit world, sometimes in a nonprofit world. You said earlier, some of these things connect.
Of course.
The mindset that has you run a successful company can have you run a successful hospital, can have you run a successful university or city or society. And I get so inspired working with the master's degree students over there. And so this year for Leadership Lab, we're going to have MSW and EMBA and FEMBA and public health. So we're going to have onboarding students from 4 graduate programs in these 3 labs.
I want to attend.
Yeah, I didn't think of it in 2017. I hadn't thought of it yet. But it's the evolving thing, because I'm in love with this reality that there are 125 different graduate programs of study here. I mean, we're happy to build bridges between EMBA and FEMBA full time. That's wonderful. Like you said, you can cross pollinate in the electives. But there's the law school and the medical school and the sciences on South Campus, and it's such the opportunity. And I love your story, Anika, because I don't know how you did it. What's your husband's name?
Rasul.
Rasul?
Yeah, Rasul Islam.
Rasul?
Yeah.
Rasul, thank you for, I don't even know. I listen to your story. I'm like, where does she get the hours? How do you travel back and forth to Asia? How does he get a PhD? You are just an amazing couple.
And we got 2 puppies during my MBA.
2 puppies, 4-legged.
Yeah, so 1 puppy 1 year ago and another puppy 4 weeks ago.
Oh my goodness. Is that the graduation puppy?
No, actually, we always, when we grew up, we wanted to have a dog, but we both...
High rises.
Yeah. We never even had Yard. So we never had puppy.
Yeah.
So somehow we wanted a puppy. So last year we got our first puppy. And he has been great.
What kind is he?
So he's a terrier mix. He's a West Highland and Jack Russell Terrier.
Aww.
He's very intelligent, feisty. No, he's very quiet to his parents.
Nice.
He's the nicest puppy to us, not to anyone else. And then actually, so we adopted him from a shelter. And then we felt like, okay, it's been a year. He needs... because we have long work hours, he goes to daycare. He's spoiled. So maybe another sibling would be good for him. So we took him to shelter to pick another puppy. So this time he picked another puppy.
Oh.
So she is actually Australian cattle dog, Blue Heeler.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, she is also feisty.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so your hands are full. All right.
Yeah, so definitely my husband is taking care of the puppies when I'm flying here. So...
Well, thank you.
Yeah. That's why, whenever, that's what I mentioned,
he's a stakeholder. He's a stakeholder. And thank you for...
They have to be all in.
Being a stakeholder in your success, because 1 class to the finish line.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Favorite productivity hack or something that's working for you? How do you juggle all this? What works for you?
I wouldn't say I'm good at multitasking.
You would not say you're good at multitasking. I would beg to disagree, but that's just me. Okay.
But I try to figure out priorities.
Okay.
Every morning I try to figure out what is the priority of my day.
Okay.
And if I feel like I want, because I told you I have families kind of in different time zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely have to figure out when I can talk to them.
Okay. Europe, Bangladesh,
Europe, and another sister is East Coast. So 2 sisters in 2 different time zones.
Okay.
In different time zone.
3 hours, 9 hours, and then you got to go the other way.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I always put my family in my highest priority, then work and school at the same. So those are the things, like every morning I kind of like remind myself what is my priority, so that I know, okay, this is the time I'm going to call, or this is the time I'm going to work. So I have to sometimes like do work like even till midnight to make those, but I don't regret. So I feel like that's my hack, figuring out my priority.
And do you have a special time in the morning? Do you do it when you have your coffee? Do you do it at work or at home?
Usually when I drive to work, I do all my calls, like, because I have like Wi-Fi connected. So not Wi-Fi, sorry, Bluetooth connected with my phone.
Sure.
So I do some phone calls, especially with family and friends on the way to work.
But I'm sorry, the prioritization piece. When do
every
you
morning? Yeah, kind of like I do that in morning, like after I wake up.
Do you write it down? Do you carry it with you?
That's kind of like a mind thing. Like I kind of like figure, okay, I check my calendar first thing I wake up, and what are the meeting time I have for my work, because I also have to figure out meeting time with my school work, because there is always casework and you always have to work in a group. So first thing in the morning, I check my calendar. And then I prioritize, okay, these are the things I need to do at work for this day. And this is the priority. I have to call my mom, or I have to call my sister. Like, who should I call?
Who do I call first? Which sister calls first? Always got to call mom before sister. I don't know.
So like all those things, like after I see my calendar, like first 5 minutes in the morning, it's kind of like not a long thing to write down, more like a 5-minute hack that this is the priority for the day. And then I start my day, because like, it takes, like, for me, like, definitely depending on what is your family situation.
Sure.
And I have 2 puppies, so it's also work. But like, if someone has like young kids, they will also have different priorities. So every morning I try to think that. And I would say, I don't think about like work-life balance. I told you, like, I feel like you're doing your work because you like it. So it's your life. That's your identity. So when you mention work-life balance, like, your work, to me, that word feels like your work is not your life. But that does not mean, and when someone says, oh, I don't have any life, I only work, that also doesn't make any sense to me. Because my work is my identity, my family is my identity. So both needs to get time from me. So that's my balance. Like, I don't try to differentiate them. Whichever needs to be done, I do it.
Oh, I love that. Because framing the issue is so important to how we relate to the issue. And there's so many hours in the day. Everybody has the same allocation, so nobody has more.
No, and I also need 7 hours sleep minimum. So
that's a good hack. Yeah, enough sleep, enough.
So that's also another thing. Like, the moment it hits midnight, no, I need to sleep, because if I don't sleep, I cannot function next day. So those are the things, like, I feel like I need that. Sometimes, like, that's the thing, if you're in FEMBA, there are so many events you want to, but also you have like a family. So those are the things sometimes I prioritize. Like, this weekend, I want to stay home, or I want to party.
Yes. The trade-offs.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being so generous as you've shared with us your story. I hope you all have enjoyed it. Anika is accomplished. She's educated. She's carved out her domain of healthcare and operations, and she's got 5 and 10-year goals, and I think you're going to hit all of them based on your record of success so far. You have the work habits, and you've surrounded yourself with the right people, and you've put yourself in so many opt-in opportunities to really take advantage. We didn't actually cover everything, but we covered a lot, and I waited 9 months for this interview. I hope it's worth it for you. I hope you enjoy it. Anika, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you all for listening, and we'll have more conversations with great people from UCLA on a future episode of Drive Time.